Well, everybody, welcome back to the Match Grade Podcast. Today's a special one. We've got a little interview with a friend of mine and the developer of the USCCA Defensive Pistol Program. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for reaching out and getting me.
No worries. I'm glad you could do it on short notice. You know, we had a couple other topics ready to go, and it just didn't look like it was going to come together. And I remembered our chat the other day about doing a podcast. I'm like, well, I know Steve's traveling. I almost forgot you were going to be traveling, but I figured I'd hit you up, see what you could do. So, thanks for taking some time out. And before I dive into the material, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be the development specialist for the USCCA and how the DPP program, where the little nuggets got planted.
Thanks for having me, Dave. It's kind of an interesting journey. So, I'm a retired sheriff's deputy, and I spent some time contracting overseas. And I've been a firearms instructor for a while. I've been an adjunct instructor out at Gunsight for over 30 years now. And that was really kind of my core, development as an instructor. Started my own business. And one of my partners and I, we tried to get involved with the USCCA actually several years ago on the training side. We had some training we wanted to offer to them. And finally, an opportunity opened up, a full-time position, and crammed my foot in the door and got going. And then over the next couple of years, it evolved into this training slot where the instructor development specialist position was created, and a great role for me. And then the live fire program that we had, defensive shooting fundamentals, we were looking at the time, what we called a refresh. And so defensive pistol program, the seed was planted for that. And the evolution of that turned into a completely different animal. And I got invited to participate in that as the subject matter expert. And it's been a great ride developing that. And it's consumed a lot of my time over the last couple of years to get this thing out.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so that's kind of the abbreviated bullet points.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll just say thank you for a program that looks like it is going to do well. I'm excited to see what I can do to keep it growing. So let's see where it goes. I like it.
Yeah, exciting program.
Cool. This is a fresh look at this. I've had other instructors tell me, there's only so many ways to shoot a gun. and I think they figured them all out. But it's the delivery system, and it's the, like you talked about, the neuroscience behind the skill building. I take it as I'm building that motor neural pathway, that myelination is happening. And when you guys were talking about the numbers of the reps in the instructor course, and I was thinking, okay, 30 reps of this. Okay, if done well, it's way better than, okay, 5, you're looking great, let's go for it. You're giving them they're getting some time to diagnose themselves a little bit based on that feedback that they should be getting along the way. And then I saw it live right on, when the rubber met the road right there on the range. And, a couple of the clients, I could just see them getting that, when they do that broken grip drill, when we put them in the holster. And out of all the clients I've run, probably half of them had never put a gun in the holster. That was their first time putting a gun in a holster, and then transferring into a live gun in the holster. So for them, that was like mind-blowing right there, that they could do this, and they'd never thought about it.
And so, as you know, my emphasis to the instructors is that every student in every drill gets personal attention from the instructor. You're not going to move on to the next drill until you have helped every single student. And the only way you can do that is have sufficient reps to have the opportunities. Yep. So it's and we're rolling this concept into the AR-15 program. And so that's, of course, the course I'm here helping with and getting those guys to understand that, and that personal attention. Of course, the students love that. You don't bypass them and just let them. Even the good students are going to get that attention, and I think it's going to pay off. The customer is going to be more inclined to continue to train with the instructors that provide them that personal attention. So, of course, we're in the firearms business to be successful, and that means we have to make money to keep the business running, keep the lights turned on, and that's not a bad thing. That's why we charge a reasonable price for these programs. But it's, as you know, return customers cost us less than marketing and getting new customers, and so this program offers an opportunity to keep them engaged and give an opportunity for them when they're done to, A, like you said, cycle back, or B, what do you have now? What's next for me? And I know, coming from the martial arts world, where you get those students over long periods of time, right? They don't come in for a class and then disappear. You've got them for months, and the reward of that continued growth and education, I would love to see that translate into the firearms industry. And we've got some great schools out there, and you can go get some immersion training, spend a week. But even to come back to those is cost prohibitive for many people, or they save up and it's once a year. And so we're trying to help with keeping them engaged over a continuous period of time. And I think this program is a great start. And if we keep building it and it keeps gaining the momentum, then of course we're going to add additional modules, right? And so,
oh yeah, I'm excited to see what those are going to end up being.
Oh, I can't wait to get parents to start developing them. We've got some titles, right? Some content ideas that we want to do, and I'm chomping at the bit. I mean, this year we're rolling out the less lethal program, and so that's going to take the front burner. But of course, I'll start, when I have a few minutes, developing some of the other stuff, getting the groundwork laid for them, because I think this program has a huge front side to it. We've got plenty that we can add.
Oh yeah,
it's a good deal.
I like it. It's interesting. So one of the really interesting ways it's put together that really got me hooked is the modules that are how they're set up. For everybody listening, there's 5 range modules, okay, but before that there's like an introduction to the defensive pistol program module, which in some ways should be the 6th module, but the one you do before everything else. And that right there is, when I started looking through it, I'm like, oh my God, this thing's a class by itself, because it's chock full of a lot of good info, but it's meant to be not only the introduction, but the teaser. If they're coming to this, and I've done a couple of them for free. I didn't charge anybody anything. This was my lost leader to get them in the door. And all but one person attended the intro to DPP, and they're just waiting for me to do another one because they want to reverse it and get the whole slate. So, but one thing I was going to mention, like the customer turnover, I'll give you. I think I've talked to you about the training program I run with a select group of people here, the Handgun Master Program. 2 of the people that have gone through the DPP have opted in for that Handgun Master Program. And they said that they never would have considered it if they hadn't done the DPP. They were awesome to hear that. It was just like
yeah, and that's exactly what I was talking about. So we get to this, and what else do you have? And I think that it's you said it. There's nothing wow in there. We didn't create any new techniques, new ways to hold the gun, new ways to press the trigger. That's not what this program was designed to do. It's that the neuroscience, the motor learning skills and stuff like that we're doing differently. But it's a awesome foundation done correctly that sets them up for success in almost anything after that.
Oh, yeah.
So to hear that they have the confidence after completing that to attempt a very challenging program is very cool. When we started laying it out, blocks 1 and 2 were pretty easy. This is 1, this is 2. We had that. But after that, 3, 4, and 5, there was discussion in the sequence there, and what makes the most sense. And in fact, just last week, I think it was, might have been the week before, we had that discussion again about are these sequenced the way that we want them? So we're looking seriously at the program always. Our question is, did we do it right?
Okay.
And if the answer ever comes back as no, then we're gonna fix it. But we're really comfortable that it can run just fine the way we have it sequenced. And the question though becomes is, if we change something, is it going to be better or worse?
Yeah.
And so as we're not going to right now. We're going to wait and make sure we get some reps and see before. And we might do a test case somewhere and try to ask one of you guys to, hey, change this module sequence. Let me know how it works out. But for now, like I said earlier, we have to get enough feedback with what we got before we start changing things, or we won't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The modules was, and it is difficult for some people to understand because it's not the norm. It's not the way we historically have done firearms training. And so providing the why behind it clearly so that they understand is real important. I had a guy just the other day who, can't we just do this, the whole thing in, like 2 days and do 2 full days? Well, you can get through the modules, but it defeats the purpose of the program. So, making sure people understand what we're trying to accomplish and why and the success is going to be ongoing for a little while. I think probably through the rest of the year, hopefully by then the concept and the message will get out. People will understand a little bit better why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, the one thing that I think is the biggest jump for a lot of instructors, they're used to just putting their head down, running through that wall for the whole day or the 2 days, and then we'll see how it develops afterwards, down, the next few weeks. Whereas a lot of the training that I've seen, they do emphasize sleep cycles. They do emphasize that brain unplugging for a little bit while it still processes in the background, and then come back to day 2, and now you're applying all that stuff. And that's how I kind of look at, if you think about modules or session 1 and session 2, the first 2 modules, and you're learning the skills. You're cementing those skills and you're wiring them. And then the rest of the modules are using those skills so that you're applying the skills. And that's where the reps come in under context. And then I think the retention just skyrockets on that.
The commitment to do that is the hard part because people are just not used to it. And restructuring, a schedule, they're used to getting this guy in for, here, and then they're refilling it. There are not many places that are used to asking for an ongoing commitment from somebody for 5 modules, whether it's once a day for a week or whatever the case may be. And so it takes a shift. And I said it the other day to somebody. We have to be bold enough to step off and take this chance. And so far, it's proving out. We haven't crashed and burned with it.
Yeah.
The instructors that are engaged with it, all of them are coming back with success stories to differing degrees. And part of it is, so they get through their first iteration. They get through the first 5 modules, the first full program. And now they have the confidence in it because they see it works.
Yeah.
And the first time is a chance. They're taking a chance because they're not sure. But by the time they experience the program and they see the student success, now the next time they go back to get their next program going, they're excited about it because they know. And so it's just getting those instructors through that first program that is the tough part. Then they have the faith, they have the confidence, and then they start pushing it and turning it into something.
Yeah, there's something to be said for getting out and testing it for yourself.
Let me ask you a question from the instructor side.
Yeah.
So if an instructor comes to you and says, "Hey, yeah, I've heard about this defensive pistol program. I'm kind of interested. What advice would you give them as far as preparation and both mental and physical to take this program?"
Well, you want the short answer? What time is dinner, Steve? I think you know where I'm going with this. Let's say they're a newer instructor. Yeah, let's say they're a newer instructor. What I would do is I would tell them, get comfortable with a holster, get comfortable, either get some instruction or get some self-study on a good safe draw and a good reholster. Get comfortable using their gun in anything other than just a static target shooting mindset. So that to me tells me that I'm going to tell them, go take some defensive firearms courses if they haven't, because they need to have some background, in my opinion. If they're going to teach this stuff, they better have, it doesn't have to be a deep bucket, but it's got to be a pretty good size bucket to draw from. And then, in my case, I've done a lot of study on motor physical development, the mental connection to these things out here, but also the psychology of self-defense and the psychology of using a firearm, just either carrying it or using it in self-defense. There's a lot of stuff they got to be ready for, because I think in this class, they're going to be tested, not only themselves by their skills, but I think their students are going to test them. And the topic we're talking about, especially if they start doing the introduction to the defensive pistol program, the first part, they're going to need to really know that topic and that material in there, or else they're just going to look like a shell. And I don't want to see an instructor get up there and just vapor lock and get stuck when somebody asks them a question about something that they need to know when they teach this.
No.
So I think there's quite a bit. It's not a short answer or I had somebody tell me, can you put a time frame on it? No, it's how much time can you dedicate? Is it 80 hours? Is it 40 hours? Is it 2 years? But I think knowing the material by going out and being a good student is going to help them quite a bit. They've got to be ready.
Well, of course, our intent here was to get more experienced instructors, which is why we set the standards where we did. A new instructor is not likely to be able to meet those entry standards. Yeah. So generally we expect that in order to do that, it's a more experienced instructor or somebody that can look at them and go, well, I can prepare and get there. And unfortunately, we've had a few people come to class that clearly were not prepared. They didn't understand what concealed carry was, right? So their equipment didn't support the intent of the class. And even though, I send out 3 or 4 emails prior to class, try to make sure everybody has sufficient information and provide opportunities for them to ask questions. They still show up unprepared. And unprepared, what does that mean? Well, it's a variety of things. Like I said, inappropriate equipment, inappropriate skills, and the improper mindset about what they're getting into. I don't interview them about that, so I'm not real sure what they thought, what they thought the class was going to be, because that's one of the questions we continually ask ourselves. Are we providing them with enough information to be properly prepared before they sign up for the class? That's important to us. We don't want them to waste time and resources unnecessarily, and certainly we don't want to waste our time and resources, because our goal is to help people. When they get there, we want to progress them along and develop them and give them an opportunity. And of course, they have to do their part, so they have to come prepared to participate in the class at the level that's expected.
Yeah, I look at it. I learned a long time ago that there are instructor certification courses and there are instructor development courses. And when it's an instructor certification course, my opinion is you better show up to the door ready to go. You know, like I honestly would have said this if I didn't do well on the assessments and I didn't pass the course. You and I have talked enough. You know I mean it. I appreciated the way the assessments were put together, and I appreciated the level of competency that was expected. Because that right there told me what caliber of program that this was going to be. You know, if it looked at, oh, you've got 4 seconds to draw and fire, I'd be like, what? But when I saw the CI level and then the TC level and then the super cool badass, John Wick level there, I knew that, okay, I've got to have my what together, and I've got to get tuned, and like I was telling you, I've got to show you something. This is all the assessments I ran for myself right here. There's about a dozen of them, maybe more. And I've got one right here that I just had note paper on. I went out and I put the work in. And because, like I said in the beginning, I didn't want to embarrass myself, but I also didn't want to make you feel like that I wasn't prepared. I was there. My game plan was I'm going there to pass this because I've got the time invested, I got the money invested, and I'm driving 6 hours to go do this. I'm going to do whatever it takes. All right. So with the instructors that are coming in, we were talking about some of them being, prepared and doing well, some of them not being prepared. That was on my mind after the class that I finished with you and Carrie there in Pittsburgh. And so I started looking at, in my own instructor development world, it's like, okay, what would I do with the ones that struggled? And, it actually calls back to what you asked me just a few minutes ago. Like, what would I tell a new instructor who's interested in this? Because obviously a lot of my team has asked me about this, and I've told them the same thing. I've said, you've seen this, you've seen the assessments. Go out there and practice the skills and then start doing the assessments. Get that drawing done, get that target transition done, get that trigger work going. And from what I observed in other instructor classes where I've seen the same kind of thing happen, where people just show up and some guys, it's like I know them to be really good shooters, and today it just didn't work for them. And they got frustrated. It's like, I've been to some pretty tough instructor courses, and I'm like, I know this guy can shoot. Why is he doing this? And his brain is all foggy. And a lot of times it's performance anxiety for a lot of these guys.
Well, as you know, it's tough because the assessments at the beginning are one at a time. And so you're in a group of people that most of you've never met. That's the first time you meet them. So it's a whole bunch of strangers. Most of them don't know myself or Justin. We're new instructors. And here you are in the spotlight. It's you by yourself.
Yeah.
That's tough. I get it. We do whatever we can. We're not intentionally trying to create additional stress. But that's why when I get the opportunity and somebody asks, I just simply say, if you can go to the range and pass the assessment 8 out of 10 times, you're probably ready for the class. But I think it's very clear that some of them go, and if they pass it once, they feel like I'm good.
Yeah, they stop.
Yeah, but they
Right.
don't know that they're going to be in that spotlight with that extra stress. Because I've watched a couple of guys that passed with no problem that I could tell were actually a little higher performers, but the stress there even affected them. And
Oh yeah.
fortunately for them, they had they had skills in surplus, and so they got through with okay. But you could tell they weren't as smooth or fluid, and certainly by time you get through the course and they're more relaxed and everything, you start to see that performance come out. Um, I don't know what else to tell people how to prepare, and that's the simplest thing. Is, I mean, there's more to it than that, but that's an easy start. If you can get 8 out of 10 of each of the assessments on demand, you probably have a pretty good chance of passing the
Yeah.
shooting portion of the class.
It was interesting because I knew the order. 'Cause obviously, I practiced them, but when we did the first series assessments, I couldn't tell you who did what because I wasn't watching them. I was just like, all right, I'm running reps in my mind of, number one, the DFI factor, don't F it up, was in there, right? But when I was running it, I was running clear draw, press, I was focused on all that stuff. And I think it was what, like number 4, number 5 down the line from the left there. And I just heard gunfire going off. I couldn't tell you who did what. And when I was done, I could tell you who did what. But until then, I wasn't worried about it. And, I just I'm just going to do what I got to do, and we're going to see where the ride takes me. And, and it was good because I just focused on my target. That was it.
Um, you know,
Yeah, there's enough stress. I mean, to be able to kind of block some of that stuff out and not worry about it
yeah,
is a good thing. And I mean, you're there for you. Worrying about other people doesn't contribute to your success. But we have seen people try to outperform each other, and that doesn't contribute well for them. So, the neuroscience is an important part of what we do, and that's the how we learn and retain information. That's a huge influence in this. And then the motor learning science, um, it's more than just saying repetition. Motor learning is more than that, right? So you have deliberate training, and we have the interleaving of materials,
yep,
and um, the challenge point framework and the other things that we are putting in there that help with the retention and learning of the program. So those are interesting details. And we were talking today, and the last 2 years, my personal development, my firearms training has been more on how the brain works and how the body works and stuff, and even the eyes and what we see and perceive,
yeah,
so that I'm better understanding what we're trying to do. Certainly for my own personal development, I don't want to waste time on the range being ineffective, and validating what we're doing, and going, look, are we doing the right thing, or do we need to make some adjustments? So the key points there, and of course, and you'll remember this, I said the way I describe it to people, I have 4 primary things when I describe this, right? So this program
right,
is the neuroscience, right? That the how and why we learn things, the motor learning science, and then the next 2 components. The third one kind of ties into the second, but it's the coaching of the instructors. I don't want you stand there watching this guy make mistakes. I want you to go up and fix them. And then the last thing is the instructor demonstrations. We expect the instructors to shoot a lot in front of and for the students. We want them to model exactly what our expectations are. So this all ties back into some of the points we were making, is the entry level to get in the class. Because
yeah,
my expectation is that when you do a demonstration, that you demonstrate well. That means you have to arrive at the class with a degree of skill already in hand. If you can't shoot when you come to the class, you won't be able to shoot when you leave, because that's not the focus of the class.
exactly.
Not that we don't help and we don't coach while you're there and try to improve, but that's not the main focus. And demonstrating in front of your students is a huge focus from the instructor to the end user perspective. So those encompass, and if somebody asks me, hey, what do I got to be good at? You're going to have to understand the neuroscience, and so start reading up on it. There's plenty of material out there. Our core book, as you know, is Dustin Solomon's Building Shooters. That's a great book to build that. And
Unbelievable resource.
yeah, that'll help you with the understanding the neuroscience and the motor learning, right? And then work on your diagnostic skills. What do you do, or how do you correct people? And then, get the assessment. There's plenty of other good shooting drills and skills out there. You mentioned Dave. There's a number of Dave's drills that I do on a regular basis because they challenge me and they challenge my skills and they force me to develop. So it's not just the assessments that we have out there. And the truth is, you can practice those assessments and get good enough to pass them with a marginal improvement in your skills. So
Right.
I don't practice the assessments that I'm required to shoot. I go shoot them for score, but I practice the skills that help me be successful in passing the assessments. So I'm always looking for good, challenging drills, and Dave's got a whole list of them, and plenty of other good ones out there to help develop those skills. So, come prepared.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think that's the overall thing right there. You said it's not a shooting development course. It's a certification course is the way I looked at it. And if you don't show up on day one ready to stand and deliver, it's an uphill battle. That's nearly vertical, and it's just not going to work out.
People get there when they
Yeah.
go, oh, this is more than I expected, or not what I expected, or and I've seen some great efforts from people that weren't quite there. Once again, we try to provide them the information ahead of time. Everybody gets the assessments and the times well in advance, so it shouldn't be a surprise.
No excuses. So, Steve, I guess I think we've done a pretty good job of the program, talking about it, and hopefully this might entice or just clear up some of the mystery behind it, because everybody's like, "Oh, this new program, what's it about? What's it really going to be about?" It's about making you a better shooter and giving you, like I think one of the phrases is, gives you some tools to use in that life-threatening situation, and it's I like the material.
Yeah, I hope it clears some things up as well, but I'll bet it generates as many questions as it.
That's okay. Believe me, I'll clue you in on some of the questions that come out of the subscribers and the people that view this in the on the channel, and we'll I think it'll be good. It'll be good. It'll create some good discussion. So, Steve, thank you for joining me for this. Thank you for taking the time and, on a sudden, not even 24-hour notice, jumping on this. I really appreciate it. It was good to get the info out there. And, I know I'm going to be seeing you around here pretty soon. In fact, in another week and a half, we'll be on the range working together. So I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
I'm looking forward to it.
I appreciate you thinking of me when you had a slot open, and I'm really glad it worked out. I'd have been disappointed if I'd have had to say no, because we've had some great conversations about this around the edges and when we have opportunities to talk. So this is great to just sit down and focus on this and
I like it.
Hit all those points. So thanks for inviting.
All right. So Steve, thanks for joining us. I know you do some training as well in addition to the USCCA, job that you have. So tell us where people can find you. How can they reach out to you?
Yeah. So, of course, my USCCA, they can reach out to me there at steve.h@uscca.com. Just send me a message. My company's Custom Tactical Services, and the website is customtacticalservices.com. So I don't have as many opportunities to go train independently because I travel so much, but I got a class in Alaska coming up, and we're going to do one in Pennsylvania. So if you need some training, I'm certainly available. It's just a matter of coordinating calendars.
Yeah. If you need an assistant going to Alaska, let me know.
class fills, absolutely.
Okay, this might be interesting. All right, so yeah, thanks for that. I'll make sure Ed puts it out there on the screen as well, just in case somebody wants to, I'll bet you it's going to be questions about the DPP program and anything, so at least they can find you a little easier. So I guess there's the standard stuff I gotta cover when we finish up the video here. Everybody, thanks for chiming in. Thank you for Steve Hendricks, the instructor development specialist for the USCCA. Somebody who he and I have, like he said, we've been sharing a lot of info about this course and other stuff. And by all means, got to say the standard stuff. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe down below, comment below, share this thing out, do whatever you got to do. And we'll see everybody on the next episode. Thanks for coming out.